The deep space mission was unlike any other the crew had experienced. Aboard the advanced starship Stellar Voyager, the crew members sat in their seats, busy with their daily tasks, as the ship glided through the dark abyss of space. They were a team of highly trained specialists from various planets, brought together by a common goal: to explore new worlds and uncover the unknown. Yet today was different. Today, something had happened that none of them had prepared for. It started with a strange signal, an encrypted message received from a distant part of the galaxy that no one had ever mapped. The transmission was brief but odd. The language was not one that any of the crew members recognized, and the message itself was distorted, like it had been scrambled by some unknown force. But one thing stood out clearly: the warning. Earth is more dangerous than a death world. The message was chilling, and for a moment, the entire crew sat in stunned silence. Earth, a peaceful, quiet world. What could this message possibly mean? Captain Kellen, a seasoned leader with years of experience, stood up and walked toward the communications console. Her eyes narrowed as she studied the data. "We've received transmissions from strange places before," she said, her voice steady, though there was a hint of unease. "But this is different." Lieutenant Tarek, the ship's communications officer, was the first to speak. "I've never seen anything like this. It's as if someone is trying to warn us. But Earth, more dangerous than a death world. That doesn't make sense." Death worlds were infamous in the galaxy. They were planets filled with deadly creatures, extreme climates, and constant danger. Planets where life had evolved in ways that made survival nearly impossible for anyone not native to the environment. Earth was nothing like that. It was a world known for its beauty, its diversity, and its peaceful inhabitants. The idea that Earth could be more dangerous than one of these death worlds seemed utterly absurd. "Captain," said Dr. Ilara, the ship's lead scientist, her voice trembling slightly, "there's something else. The transmission has a code hidden within it, an encrypted map. If we follow it, it will lead us to a planet in the Alpha Centauri system." She paused, looking at the map's coordinates, her face pale. "It seems to point straight to Earth." The crew was confused, unsure of what to make of this strange turn of events. Earth had never been known for anything dangerous, so why would someone send a message about it now? The idea that Earth could be hiding a secret so dangerous that it warranted a galaxy-wide warning was both unsettling and hard to believe. Captain Callan paced back and forth, her mind racing. She had led many missions in her career, but this was different. She could feel the weight of something much larger hanging over them. She knew they had to investigate, but there was a part of her that dreaded what they might find. "We need to check this out," she said, her voice firm. "Prepare the crew. Set course for the Alpha Centauri system. I want to get to the bottom of this." The ship's engines hummed to life as the crew prepared to follow the mysterious signal. No one spoke as they made their way toward the coordinates. Everyone was deep in thought, wondering what they would discover, and more importantly, what was hidden about Earth. Was it all just some kind of misunderstanding? Or was there truly something lurking on Earth that no one knew about? As the ship neared the system, Tarek's voice broke the silence. "Captain, we're getting closer to the planet. The signal is getting stronger." His fingers danced over the console, and the image of a beautiful blue and green planet appeared on the screen. "There it is. Earth. But why would someone want us to come here?" Captain Callan stared at the screen, her mind filled with doubts and questions. "We need to be cautious," she said. "There's something we don't understand here. I want all systems on high alert. We have no idea what we're walking into." The crew members nodded in agreement. Tension filled the air as the Stellar Voyager approached Earth, the planet they had all known as a symbol of peace. But now, that peace felt like a fragile illusion, as if something hidden deep beneath the surface was waiting to be uncovered. The ship entered the atmosphere, the crew bracing themselves for whatever might happen next. As they descended toward the planet's surface, strange feelings washed over the crew. They couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The air inside the ship felt thicker, heavier, as if the ship itself was somehow reacting to the planet below. Dr. Ilara whispered, "It's like the planet is alive, holding its breath, waiting for us to make a move." The landing was smooth, but the sense of unease only grew. They landed near an isolated region, far from the bustling cities of Earth, in a place where no one lived. The team stepped out onto the planet's surface, feeling the cool, dry air around them. Earth's surface was eerily quiet, too quiet. There were no signs of life, no sounds of animals, no wind or rustling trees. It was as if the planet was holding something back, hiding it from the crew. "This is wrong," said Lieutenant Tarek, his voice trembling. "There should be life here. This isn't Earth as we know it." Captain Callan gave a sharp nod. "Stay alert. This is just the beginning." As they moved forward, the crew could see signs of ancient structures buried beneath the soil, half swallowed by time. The buildings seemed old, older than anything they had encountered before. It was as if the world had forgotten its past, or had tried to erase it. The further they ventured, the more it became clear that Earth held secrets no one had ever known, secrets that could change the course of history forever. Suddenly, Dr. Ilara froze. "Wait," she said, pointing to a small, weathered object partially buried in the ground. She knelt down, brushing away the dirt. It was an ancient artifact, covered in strange symbols. She gasped as she recognized the markings. This is not from Earth. These symbols, they are from a lost civilization, the same ones who built the Death Worlds." The crew gathered around her, their eyes wide with shock. They had only read about these ancient civilizations in old texts, but they never imagined they would encounter something like this. It was clear now that the warning was not a mistake. Earth was hiding something dangerous, and they had just uncovered the first clue. The crew stood in silence, the weight of their discovery settling over them. What had they walked into? And what did this ancient artifact mean for Earth's future? The mysterious message was just the beginning, and the answers were buried deep in the heart of the planet. Captain Callan stared at the object in Ilara's hands, her thoughts racing. They had come to uncover the truth, but now they had to face the frightening possibility that the truth about Earth was darker than they could ever imagine. The silence in the air was thick as the crew members stared at the artifact in Dr. Ilara's hands. Its surface was rough, aged by time, yet the strange symbols engraved into it seemed almost alive. They pulsed faintly, as though reacting to the crew's presence, as though they knew something that the crew did not. "We need to get this back to the ship," Captain Callan said, her voice steady, but with a hint of urgency. "Dr. Ilara, carefully pack it up. We need to analyze it further." Dr. Ilara nodded, carefully wrapping the artifact in a protective cloth she had brought with her. As she did, she looked up at the captain, her brow furrowed in thought. "Captain, this artifact. I've seen similar markings in old archaeological records, but nothing like this. It feels off. It's as if it has a history we don't fully understand." Callan didn't respond right away. Her eyes were fixed on the horizon, where the desolate landscape stretched out before them. Earth was supposed to be a place of history, a cradle of life and civilization, but what they were finding was a mystery that no one had ever anticipated. The crew returned to the ship, making their way through the quiet, empty terrain. Tarek, the communications officer, kept his gaze sharp, his hand hovering over his weapon, still uneasy. There was something unsettling about the planet, something that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. Every step they took felt like they were walking deeper into a forgotten world, a world that didn't want to be remembered. Once back on the stellar Voyager, they wasted no time. The ship's lab was quickly converted into a makeshift analysis room. The artifact was placed under a microscope, and Dr. Ilara worked quickly to decode the symbols etched into its surface. Tarek, meanwhile, accessed the ship's communication systems, trying to trace the source of the mysterious message that had brought them to Earth in the first place. As they worked, Captain Callan stood in the corner of the lab, arms crossed, her mind racing. The puzzle pieces were slowly starting to come together, but there were still too many missing. The warning in the message, "Earth more dangerous than a death world," kept repeating in her mind. What had Earth been hiding for so long? Finally, after what felt like hours, Dr. Ilara looked up from the microscope, her eyes wide with shock. "Captain, you need to see this." Catelyn walked over, her heart pounding. The screen in front of Dr. Ilara displayed a sequence of images. The symbols on the artifact, once indecipherable, were now beginning to form a pattern. And that pattern, once fully translated, showed a map. It was not just any map, but one of Earth, showing locations across the planet that seemed to be tied to the ancient civilizations Ilara had mentioned. These locations, they're marked with symbols that match those found in the ruins on the surface, Ilara said, her voice trembling. And there's more. Some of the locations point to areas that no one has ever explored. The captain's pulse quickened. And the message? Does it tell us what's in these places? Ilara hesitated before answering. The message didn't say exactly, but it did warn of what remains hidden, and that these places are the key to understanding what Earth truly was. Whatever they were, they're dangerous, Captain. And it looks like the warning was meant for someone to find them. Now, Tarek, still monitoring the communication systems, suddenly spoke up. "Captain, I'm picking up something. Another transmission. It's faint, but it's coming from one of the locations marked on the map." "Which one?" Catelyn asked sharply. Tarek pointed at the screen. "This one. It's in the Arctic, far off the known maps of Earth. If we go there, we'll be entering territory that's not been explored for centuries." Captain Catelyn took a deep breath. The crew was on edge. The last thing they wanted was to walk into a trap, but they had no choice now. They had come this far, and they had to discover what was hidden on Earth. The warning had been clear. The planet was more dangerous than they could imagine. And the only way to understand it was to go deeper. "We're going to investigate," Catelyn said, her voice firm. "Set course for the Arctic. Prepare the team. Tarek, make sure we're not being tracked." The ship began to move again, the engines roaring to life as they set their course for the unknown. The atmosphere in the ship was tense, the crew all aware that they were diving deeper into a mystery they had no hope of fully understanding. As the stellar Voyager soared across the planet's surface, the land beneath them seemed endless, its vastness intimidating. The Arctic was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was cold, desolate, and eerily quiet. Nothing stirred below them. The familiar sight of Earth's green and blue oceans was replaced by endless white snow and jagged ice formations. Yet, as they approached the coordinates, a strange energy seemed to fill the air, buzzing in their ears, almost like a warning. The ship hovered over the coordinates, and a massive ice field stretched out before them. Tarek, who had been monitoring the surroundings, suddenly spoke up. "Captain, there's something strange beneath the ice. I can't pinpoint it exactly, but there's definitely something down there. It's not natural." Ilara's eyes widened. "Something buried under the ice. We need to find out what it is." Catelyn nodded, her heart racing. They had reached their destination, but now the real test would begin. The ship lowered slowly, the ground beneath them cracking as they touched down. The air was cold and heavy, and the crew stepped out carefully, their breath visible in the freezing atmosphere. Ahead of them lay an entrance hidden beneath layers of snow and ice. It was not a natural formation. It was something far more ancient. The crew's breath caught as they realized they had found something buried for centuries. "Get your gear ready," Catelyn ordered, her voice calm despite the tension. "This is what we came here for. Whatever is inside this place could change everything." As they made their way into the ice tunnel, the feeling of being watched returned, stronger than ever. The walls of ice reflected their movements in strange, shifting patterns, making it feel as if they were not alone. They moved carefully, stepping deeper into the unknown, where the secrets of Earth's past awaited them. The warning had been clear. Earth was far more dangerous than anyone had ever believed, and they were about to find out why. The crew pressed forward through the icy tunnel, the cold biting at their skin, despite the thick layers of protective gear they wore. The passageway seemed endless, winding and twisting like a serpent beneath the frozen surface. As they moved deeper into the heart of the planet, the feeling of unease only grew stronger. Every step echoed eerily in the narrow tunnel, as if the walls themselves were whispering secrets that no one was meant to hear. Captain Callan led the way, her footsteps sure and steady. She had faced many dangers in her career, but this was different. This wasn't just an exploration mission anymore. It had become something far more critical. Something hidden deep beneath Earth's surface, something dangerous, was waiting to be uncovered. Behind her, Dr. Ilaret examined the map they had uncovered, her brow furrowed in concentration. "The entrance is just ahead," she said softly, though her voice lacked its usual confidence. "According to the map, this tunnel leads to a chamber. It's the center of the artifact's power. But the map also says that this place is not to be disturbed." "Not to be disturbed," Tarek echoed, raising an eyebrow. "That doesn't sound reassuring." "None of this is reassuring," Callan muttered, her hand resting lightly on the hilt of her sidearm. She knew they had come too far to turn back now. The warning about Earth's danger, the strange artifact, and the transmission from the Arctic all pointed to one thing. There was something on this planet that had been hidden for a reason. And the deeper they went, the more it felt like they were walking straight into a trap. The passageway opened up into a large chamber, its walls lined with ancient stone carvings. The carvings depicted strange, powerful beings, alien creatures with features that didn't belong to any known species in the galaxy. Their eyes were wide and staring, their forms twisted in unnatural positions. Some of the carvings appeared to be battle scenes, others showed strange rituals, and in the center of it all, an enormous symbol was etched into the stone. The symbol matched the markings they had seen on the artifact. "This is it," Dr. Ilara whispered, her voice filled with awe and fear. "The heart of the ancient civilization. These carvings, they tell the story of what Earth used to be. This planet was once the site of a war that shook the entire galaxy, and from the looks of it, this chamber was built to hold something powerful." The crew stood in stunned silence, taking in the enormity of the chamber and its history. Everything they thought they knew about Earth was being turned upside down. Earth, a planet once considered peaceful and innocent, had been a battleground, the birthplace of technologies and powers capable of unimaginable destruction. At the far end of the chamber, a massive stone door loomed, covered in more intricate carvings. It was clear that the door had not been opened in centuries, perhaps even millennia. A thick layer of dust and grime covered it, but the crew could sense that whatever lay beyond that door was the key to understanding what had happened to Earth and why it had been hidden from the rest of the galaxy. "We need to open it," Callan said, her voice commanding. "Whatever is behind that door is the answer we've been searching for." The crew approached the door cautiously. Tarek and Ilara studied the carvings surrounding it, trying to decipher their meaning. These symbols, they seemed to describe a power that could destroy everything in its path. "But there's more. There's a warning," Ilara said, her voice trembling slightly. "It says that the power inside must never be unleashed, that it could destroy not just Earth, but the entire galaxy." The tension in the room grew palpable as Callan considered the implications. She had read about ancient technologies, weapons that could annihilate entire star systems, but nothing like this. Earth was supposed to be a relic of a bygone era, a peaceful home to billions of humans. But this chamber, this ancient warning, suggested something much darker. "We have to be careful," Callan said, her voice quiet but firm. "We don't know what we're dealing with here. If the legends are true, Earth's history was far more violent than we were led to believe, and whatever is behind that door could change everything." With a deep breath, she nodded to Tarek, who stepped forward, his hands trembling as he brushed the dust from the door's surface. A soft click echoed through the chamber, followed by a low rumble as the massive stone door slowly began to shift. The crew watched, holding their breath, as the door creaked open, revealing what lay beyond. Inside the room was a vast, dark space, illuminated only by the faint glow of strange energy sources embedded in the walls. The air was thick with a sense of power and energy that seemed to hum in the very atmosphere. In the center of the room, on a raised platform, lay a massive machine, its design unlike anything the crew had ever seen before. It was ancient, covered in layers of dust, but its power was undeniable. The machine seemed to pulse with energy, as though it was waiting for something, waiting for them. The crew approached it cautiously, their steps slow and deliberate. Kalen's heart raced. This was it, the source of the danger that had been hidden on Earth for so long. "What is it?" Dr. Ilara asked, her voice filled with both awe and fear. Tarek stepped closer, inspecting the machine. "It's a weapon," he said, his voice low. "But not like any weapon we've ever encountered. This thing has the power to erase entire planets from existence." Kalen's eyes widened. "Are you saying Earth was once the most dangerous planet in the galaxy?" "Yes," Tarek replied, his voice heavy. "But it's more than that. This machine wasn't just built for destruction. It was built as a safeguard, a way to ensure that no one could ever use the power of the ancients again. It's been dormant, hidden away, for a reason." The crew stood in silence, the weight of the discovery settling over them. They had uncovered the greatest secret Earth had hidden for centuries. The planet, once thought to be a peaceful cradle of life, was the birthplace of a weapon that could bring about the end of everything. And now, they were standing in front of it, with no idea how to stop it from being unleashed. Kalen felt the full gravity of the situation. "We have to destroy it," she said, her voice firm with determination. "We cannot let this power fall into the wrong hands. If Earth's history is any indication, there are those who would stop at nothing to control it." But as the crew began to discuss their next steps, something strange happened. The machine began to hum louder, its energy intensifying. The room seemed to vibrate as if it were alive, reacting to their presence. "It's waking up," Dr. Ilara said, panic creeping into her voice. "We need to get out of here now." But it was too late. The machine was activating, and with it, a force more powerful than anything they could have imagined began to awaken. The crew had uncovered Earth's darkest secret, and now they were caught in the most dangerous game of their lives. The true nature of Earth's past had come to light, and with it, a force that threatened to consume everything in its path. The ground beneath the crew's feet trembled as the ancient machine powered up. The walls of the chamber began to vibrate, and the faint hum grew louder, turning into a deep, bone-shaking roar. The air in the room became thick with energy, crackling with raw power. It was as though the very fabric of reality was being stretched and distorted. Kalen's heart raced as the realization hit her. They had woken something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The warning had been clear, and now they were paying the price for ignoring it. "Move, move," Kalen shouted, her voice filled with urgency. The crew spun on their heels and began to sprint toward the exit. Tarek was already ahead, his fingers working feverishly on his communicator, trying to send a distress signal to the stellar Voyager. But the tunnel seemed to stretch on forever, the vibrations growing stronger with each passing second. The ship was their only chance now. If they didn't reach it in time, they would all be trapped, with no way to escape the catastrophic force that was being unleashed beneath them. "Captain, we have to hurry," Dr. Ilara shouted, her breath coming in ragged gasps as she struggled to keep up. "The energy readings are off the charts. We don't have much time." Kalen glanced back over her shoulder, her eyes narrowing. The machine was pulsing with an almost sentient energy now. It seemed to be aware of their movements, reacting to their every step. The closer they got to the exit, The more powerful the vibrations became, as if the entire structure was coming to life. And then, a deafening crash echoed through the chamber. The ceiling above them began to crack, massive chunks of stone breaking free and falling to the ground. The tunnel was collapsing. Dust and debris filled the air, making it difficult to see. Tarek's voice came through the comms, breathless with panic. "I'm trying to get a lock on the ship, but the signal's interfering with everything. We can't reach it." Catelyn's heart raced. They were on their own. The only way out was forward, and they had no idea how much longer the tunnel would hold. She grabbed Dr. Ilara by the arm, pulling her along as the shaking intensified. The machine's hum had turned into a deafening roar now, filling every inch of the tunnel. "Keep moving," Catelyn ordered, her voice cutting through the chaos. But just as they neared the exit, a sudden burst of energy shot through the tunnel, forcing them to dive to the ground. A brilliant, blinding light flooded the passage, and the force of the blast sent the crew sprawling. The air was thick with heat, and Catelyn could barely hear her own voice over the rush of blood pounding in her ears. She scrambled to her feet, coughing as the air turned hot and oppressive. "Captain," Tarek's voice came through, frantic. "The machine. It's activating something, some kind of shield. We're cut off from the ship. The planet's atmosphere is shifting." The world around them seemed to be warping. The walls of the tunnel melted into shimmering patterns, as if reality itself was being bent. Catelyn could feel the pressure building, a weight so heavy that it felt as though the very core of the planet was pushing down on them. "We have to stop it," Dr. Ilara shouted, panic clear in her voice. She was looking at the energy field, her eyes wide with realization. That's not just a weapon. It's a planetary system stabilizer. The whole planet, Earth, it's collapsing into itself. The machine's activating a force that will destroy the planet, and it will take everything in its wake. The ground beneath them cracked open, and the crew stumbled backward as an enormous fissure split the tunnel. Jagged rocks shot upward, creating an obstacle they could no longer avoid. The energy was building, and with every second, Earth was inching closer to its destruction. "Is there a way to shut it down?" Catelyn asked, her voice strained as she ducked beneath a falling rock. Ilara shook her head, her expression grim. "We don't have time for that. The system is too advanced. The only way to stop it would have been before it activated. Now it's too late. The only thing we can do is escape." A loud crack echoed through the chamber, and the ground beneath their feet shuddered violently. The walls of the tunnel collapsed even further, sending a wave of dust and debris into the air. A massive energy pulse blasted forward, sending Catelyn and the others tumbling back. The shockwave hit with the force of an explosion, throwing them against the walls of the tunnel, and everything went black. For a moment, Catelyn was lost in the darkness, her body aching from the impact. The sound of the machine's pulse echoed in her head, a constant hum that seemed to vibrate through her very bones. She groaned and pushed herself upright, her vision blurry as the world around her spun. Captain, are you okay?" Tarek's voice broke through the fog. Catelyn blinked, focusing on his face, which was barely visible through the dust. "I'm fine," she grunted, wiping the blood from her brow. "We need to keep moving." But as she looked around, something caught her attention. The tunnel, once filled with ancient carvings, had been reduced to rubble. The collapse had been severe, and their path was completely blocked. She could hear the low rumble of the planet's shifting core beneath her feet. Earth was dying, and it was only a matter of time before the entire planet imploded under the pressure of the destabilizing force they had unleashed. "Which way?" Dr. Ilara shouted, panic creeping into her voice. "Up," Catelyn replied, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to get to the surface. If we can reach the stellar Voyager, we have a chance. We have to get off this planet now." With no other choice, the crew fought their way through the rubble, climbing over rocks and debris, their bodies battered and bruised as they struggled to reach the surface. The vibrations grew stronger. the energy from the machine pulsing in waves that seemed to ripple through the very air. It felt like the planet was breathing, each pulse drawing them closer to its inevitable collapse. They reached the surface just as the sky above them began to twist and ripple, the very atmosphere around Earth beginning to destabilize. The stellar Voyager was visible in the distance, hovering in the sky, but the energy field around the planet had grown so intense that it was impossible to communicate with the ship. "Do you see it?" Tarek shouted, pointing toward the ship, his voice barely audible over the growing roar of the collapsing planet. Catelyn's heart pounded as she looked toward the sky. The stellar Voyager was hovering, but it was surrounded by an enormous, pulsating energy field, a shield that seemed to be preventing anyone from getting close. The ship was locked in place, as if the planet itself was refusing to let them escape. "We have to make it to the ship," Catelyn ordered, her voice fierce with determination. The crew ran as fast as they could, but the planet beneath them was crumbling faster than they could move. The ground shook violently, sending them tumbling once again. The world around them was coming to pieces, and with each step, Earth seemed to be pulling them closer to its final destruction. Catelyn looked toward the sky, her mind racing. They had uncovered the most dangerous secret Earth had ever hidden, and now they were trapped in a planet-wide collapse. The only question left was whether they could escape, or whether Earth's last, dark secret would consume them all. Time was running out. The end of the planet was inevitable, and they were caught in its final moments. The ground split beneath them as the crew sprinted toward the extraction point. Massive cracks tore through the icy surface, releasing jets of burning steam that hissed into the air. The sky above was no longer blue, but a swirling storm of color. Purple, green, and red streaks shimmered violently across the heavens, like a warning sign from the universe itself. Earth was tearing itself apart. The ancient machine had awakened something it was never meant to, something so powerful that even the planet could not contain it anymore. Captain Catelyn kept her eyes locked on the stellar Voyager, now visible just above the chaos. The ship hovered behind a wall of flickering energy, its shields flickering from the interference in the atmosphere. It was trying to break through the energy storm to reach them, but the gravitational pulses from the machine were throwing everything off balance. "We're not going to make it unless we shut that thing down," Tarek yelled, stumbling to keep up as the ground rumbled beneath their feet. "There's no way back inside," Ilara shouted, coughing from the thick dust and smoke. "The tunnel collapsed behind us. The machine is buried under tons of rock." Catelyn stopped, her mind racing. Around them, the once frozen Arctic plain was now a fractured battlefield of ice and fire. They had uncovered Earth's secret, and it had turned the planet against itself. And yet, something inside her refused to give up. "There has to be a way," she muttered, mostly to herself. Then her eyes widened. "What if we don't shut it down? What if we trick it?" Ilara frowned. "Trick it? The machine is responding to threats, right? That's why it activated. It thought we were enemies. It was built to protect Earth from invaders. But we're not invaders." Tarek looked around. "You think we can convince an ancient war machine that we're not the enemy?" Catelyn nodded. "Maybe not with words, but what if we give it a bigger threat? Something it can focus on. Something far enough away that it shifts its energy outward instead of inward." "You want to use a decoy," Ilara said slowly, eyes wide with realization. "I want to make it think we're leaving, that the threat has passed. If we can trigger a false retreat pattern, the machine might enter sleep mode again, or at least pause long enough for us to escape." The team exchanged nervous glances. It was a gamble, but it was the only option left. Tarek immediately began programming a beacon on his wrist console. "I can launch a remote probe. If I set it to emit high-energy signals, it might mimic the presence of an attacking ship. I'll aim it for low orbit, just enough to catch the machine's attention." "Do it," Catelyn ordered. Tarek launched the probe. A small sphere shot into the sky, trailing a stream of light as it climbed toward the storm clouds above. Within moments, the ground beneath their feet shuddered again. But this time, Something changed. The pulses from the machine began to slow, then shift direction, aiming upward toward the false signal. "It's working," Ilara cried. "The gravitational energy field is weakening. The atmospheric distortion is clearing. Signal the stellar voyager now," Kellen shouted. Tarek tapped rapidly on his console. Signal locked. "We're through." Above them, the ship roared as it dropped lower, finally pushing through the weakened field. A bright beam of light shot down from the hull, forming a teleport platform on the ground. "Go, go," Kellen ordered. One by one, the crew leaped into the beam. Ilara vanished in a shimmer of white light, followed by Tarek. Kalen looked back once, at the cracked earth, the distant glow of the buried machine, and the sky above where colors still danced wildly. She knew Earth would never be the same. This planet held a history too dangerous to be forgotten again. Then she stepped into the light. Moments later, she was standing on the stellar Voyager, the cold replaced by the controlled hum of the ship's systems. Around her, alarms were blaring and crew members were scrambling. "We have you, Captain," the pilot reported. "But Earth's core is still destabilizing. We have to move." "Take us up," Kalen said. "Full speed. Get us clear." The ship roared into the sky, racing through the collapsing atmosphere. Through the view screen, they watched as the Arctic surface buckled and imploded. The machine's false target had bought them just enough time. The planet wasn't destroyed, but it was deeply scared. The ancient weapon hadn't finished what it started, but it had shown them what it was capable of. In orbit, silence returned. The stellar Voyager floated above the wounded Earth, now glowing faintly from the energy released below. Kellen stood in the command center, eyes locked on the screen. "Record everything," she said. "Every scan, every image. The galaxy needs to know the truth. Earth is not what they think it is." "What now?" Ilara asked quietly. Kalen turned toward her. "Now we tell the universe that Earth isn't just a forgotten world. It's a warning, a weapon. And the secret it holds could decide the future of every civilization out there." "And if someone else finds it?" Tarek asked. Kalen didn't hesitate. "Then we'll be ready. Because we were the first to see Earth for what it really is. Not a death world. Something worse. Something ancient. Something made to end wars, not start them. And we've just woken it up." As the ship sped into the stars, leaving Earth behind, one final pulse echoed from below, silent, invisible, but powerful enough to send a ripple across space, a ripple that would soon reach other worlds. The secret was out, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again.